Hello, and welcome to Stories for Sleep, a gentle little space for souls seeking peace before drifting into rest. Here we do not hurry. There is no noise, only slow, reflective stories that help you relax and explore the world, both outside and within yourself. Tonight we will step together into a very special garden with the theme the most relaxing facts about plant defense mechanisms to help you sleep. You may think that plants simply stand still, surrendering to nature. Yet within that stillness exists a defense system that is subtle, intelligent, and profoundly patient. A secret world quietly at work as night descends. If you cherish gentle, thoughtful stories that calm the mind after a long day, consider subscribing to Stories for Sleep so you won't miss the journeys to come. Now take a slow breath in and a soft breath out, and let us begin. Have you ever wondered, when night falls and everything seems to sink into silence, what is happening in the garden outside? When we assume that plants merely stand there, unmoving, enduring wind, rain, and insects, is that truly the whole story? We often see plants as symbols of peace. A tree does not run away. A leaf does not resist. A flower does not cry out when wounded. Yet within that stillness lies a world of defense that is delicate, intelligent, and deeply patient. No noise, no drama, only quiet perseverance. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, all living beings carry within themselves mechanisms of self-protection, not only biologically but also in symbolic depth. Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." And perhaps within that silent green world there exists such a secret order, a defense system perfected over millions of years of evolution. Tonight we will not speak of nature's fierce struggles in a way that brings tension. Instead, we will explore gentle and poetic truths about how plants protect themselves through fragrance, through invisible chemicals, through quiet cooperation with insects and microorganisms. You will discover that even without the ability to move, plants possess strategies that are soft yet remarkably effective. And perhaps as you listen, you may begin to reflect upon yourself. For human beings, like plants, also carry defense mechanisms, sometimes silent, sometimes unconscious. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." When we look into the world of plants, perhaps we are also learning to understand more deeply the protective layers within our own souls. Let yourself soften. Breathe in slowly, and walk with me into the night garden where stillness is not weakness, but a form of gentle strength. The silent, defensive world of plants. When we think about defense in nature, the images that often arise are sharp claws, gleaming white teeth, or swift footsteps in a chase for survival. We are accustomed to the idea that to survive one must display explosive strength, must attack or flee. But then, if we pause for a moment and look at a tree standing quietly in the night, a gentler question appears. How can a being with no teeth, no claws, unable to move, survive for millions of years amid countless dangers? Plants do not run away. They do not growl in warning. They do not bear fangs. They do not bristle. A slender trunk remains standing in the wind and the rain among insects and fungi. On the surface, we might mistake this for resignation. Yet if we observe more deeply, we see it as another form of defense, silent, enduring, and intelligent to a degree that feels almost meditative. In the world of plants, there are no dramatic split-second reactions. Instead, there is a slow play. Everything unfolds gradually with its own rhythm, like a wordless piece of music stretching from one season to the next. When a leaf is bitten, the plant does not scream, But in silence, chemical signals begin to spread. Tiny molecules travel through vascular tissues, carrying the message, danger is coming. Within minutes, cells far from the wound begin to prepare. Some plants increase the production of bitter compounds. Others release substances that make insects struggle to digest them. Some even emit specific scents into the air, not to beautify the garden but to call the enemies of the caterpillars attacking them. No claws, no roar, only invisible signals in the night. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, we may see here a profound symbol. Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos in all disorder, a secret order. To the hurried human eye, a forest may seem like mere chaos of leaves and branches, but beneath it lies a delicate order, a network of communication, response, and adaptation unseen by ordinary sight. Plant defense is not an explosion, it is listening. Plants continuously measure light, humidity, temperature, vibration. They sense when a creature touches their stem. Some studies suggest they can distinguish between vibrations caused by wind and those caused by insects. With each distinct signal, they adjust a distinct response. There is something poetic in the thought that a being considered silent is listening to the world with such patience. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." If we only look outward, we see plants as motionless. But if we look inward into streams of chemical signals, into exchanges between roots and soil, between leaves and air, we awaken to another truth. Plants are not passive. They are living strategic lives. The defensive world of plants is a world of time. There is no haste, no panic. Only small, continuous, precise adjustments. When attacked repeatedly, some plants even remember and respond more strongly the next time. Their memory does not lie in a brain, but in how genes are activated or gradually silenced through experience. It is a form of wordless learning. And perhaps as you listen to this story before sleep, you may learn something for yourself. Human beings also have defense mechanisms. At times we erect invisible walls. At times we avoid. At times we react strongly to old wounds. But not every defense needs to be loud. Not every danger must be confronted head-on. Plants teach us the strength of slowness. In a forest, the defense of one individual does not protect only itself. When a tree releases compounds into the air, neighboring trees may hear and prepare. When roots connect through networks of symbiotic fungi beneath the soil, information may travel farther than we imagine. Defense, therefore, is not merely personal action. It shapes entire ecosystems. A bitten leaf may lead to changes in insect populations. Those changes affect birds that feed on insects. Then the predators of those birds. A small, silent reaction that ripples outward like circles upon water. This is nature's slow play, no sudden climax, but enduring depth. And as you reflect upon this in the gentle darkness tonight, you may realize that not every change in your life must occur instantly. There are quiet reactions being prepared within you. Small adjustments, almost unseen, gradually shaping who you will become. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Becoming like a plant's defense is a slow process. It does not require noise, it requires time. So tonight, as you lie down, imagine yourself as a tree in the night garden. No teeth, no claws, no need to move. Yet alive, listening, responding subtly to the surrounding world. You do not need to brace yourself against every challenge. You do not need to be strong in the loudest way. Sometimes strength is the ability to adjust quietly. It is the patience to wait for seasons to change. It is the trust that even in stillness you are adapting. The silent, defensive world of plants reminds us life is not only a battle, it is the art of balance. And in this moment, as all sounds gradually soften, you may allow yourself to relax like a trunk swaying gently in the breeze, knowing that inside subtle mechanisms continue to function, without your control, without your urgency. Simply be there, quietly, and continue living according to the slow, wise rhythm of nature. Chemical defense, when the leaf becomes a laboratory. If earlier we touched upon the silent, defensive world of plants, where every response unfolds like a wordless melody, now we move closer, as if bending toward a leaf in the soft glow of dusk. There we realize within that thin green layer lies not only sap, but an intricate laboratory where chemistry becomes the language of survival. A plant does not attack first. It does not hunt. It does not threaten. But when bitten, invaded, wounded, it does not remain silent in a passive sense. A wound is not merely a sign of loss. It is a switch. As soon as leaf tissue is broken, molecules once kept separate begin to meet. Enzymes contact precursors. Dormant compounds awaken. And from what seemed most fragile, a small tear in the leaf blade, a reaction spreads throughout the plant. Some plants, when eaten by caterpillars, release volatile organic compounds into the air. These scents are not meant to soothe human hearts. They are signals sent to invisible bodyguards, parasitic wasps, ladybugs, predatory insects. They follow the fragrance to find the attacker. How wondrous that a leaf can call for help through scent. In the stillness of the night garden, there is no panic, only signals sent, responses prepared, a chemical dialogue unfolding beyond the reach of sight. Through Jung's lens, we may see this as a symbol of human psychology. A bite upon a leaf may appear as chaos, yet inside, a precise order of reaction is activated. Plants do not choose to be toxic at all times. They adjust only when necessary. When attacked, many species increase production of tannins, intensifying bitterness, alkaloids, compounds that may be toxic to insects, nicotine, capsaicin, the substance that creates heat. A once easy leaf becomes difficult to swallow, causing nausea or digestive disruption for the invader. There is something profoundly humane in this mechanism. The response is not meant to destroy everything, only enough to stop the harm. Some plants possess even subtler systems, mixing chemicals only upon injury. In mustard family plants, when cells are crushed, enzymes and precursors combine to create pungent mustard oils. In cassava or bitter almonds, cyanogenic glycosides release cyanide when broken down. Normally, these components are kept separate and harmless. But when structure is violated, they merge and the wound becomes a site of weapon production. The wound becomes a laboratory. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. In inner life, it is often injury that reveals hidden resources. We learn to set boundaries, to say no, to protect ourselves not by attacking first, but by transforming at the right moment. Plants do the same. They do not poison the soil out of fear. They do not release toxins without cause. They wait, and when needed, they respond. Some compounds even interfere with insect hormones, disrupting, molting, and interrupting life cycles. Astonishing that a being without a nervous system can influence another's endocrine system. When invaded by fungi, plants may lock away iron-altering transport and storage, so microbes cannot access needed nutrients. Like hiding food when thieves approach. They produce antimicrobial substances, but without waste. Not throughout the whole body, only at infection sites. Right place, right time. Plant defense is precision, not panic. As you listen before sleep, you may realize gently you too have laboratories within. The immune system of your body, the regulatory mechanisms of your mind, protective reflexes you do not consciously control. Jung wrote, "The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed." Plants, after each attack, recalibrate their systems. Some even remember and respond faster next time. No noise, no boasting, just continuing to live. The theme tonight is simple. Plants do not attack first, but when bitten, they transform the wound into a weapon. Perhaps in human life it is similar. We need not live in constant defense, but when wounded we may learn from it, transform it into clearer boundaries, deeper maturity. A torn leaf does not cease photosynthesis. A scratched trunk does not stop reaching toward light. Tonight as you lie down, you may carry invisible scratches, words that hurt, disappointments not yet healed. Remember the leaf where injury activates biological wisdom. You do not need to attack first. You do not need to grow bitter toward the world. Simply trust that within you are intelligent mechanisms, knowing when to respond and when to rest. Breathe in slowly. Exhale gently. Let your mind drift through that night garden where each leaf is a silent laboratory, where every wound may become transformation. Your body is doing the same, your mind as well, quietly, precisely, and wisely. Mechanical defense, when the body becomes armor, no longer invisible molecules drifting through air, but structures that can be seen and touched. Sharp thorns, thick bark resin, gleaming in sunlight. This is the story of mechanical defense, when the plant body itself becomes armor. A small thorn on a rose branch is not decoration. It is a quiet declaration: be careful when you touch me. Thorns, spines, stinging hairs, extensions of living tissue shaped to create distance. There is something deeply symbolic here. When humans are hurt, we too may grow thorns. Caution, coolness, boundaries formed after too much trust. Yet unlike angry defense plant, thorns carry no resentment. They are simply structure. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." A tree is not the fire that once touched it. It is the life that continues to push sap upward to sprout again in spring. Resin flows from wounded trunks, sealing injury, pushing out bark beetles, both healing and protecting. The wound is not abandoned. It is sealed, isolated, guarded. Plants build fortresses from living tissue, cellulose fibers, lignin, silica, resin. The fortress is not separate from life. It is life reorganized to protect itself. Perhaps becoming oneself also includes building suitable armor, not too thick to block light, not too thin to invite harm. A balance between softness and strength. Tonight, imagine a forest at night. Trunks steady, bark thick, roots deep. No dramatic sound, only steadfast presence. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel that you too can build your fortress, not to isolate, but to guard the gentle core within. Defense through cooperation, hiring natural bodyguards if we have seen fortresses built from living tissue, thorns, bark, resin. Tonight we step into another layer of defense, gentle yet profound defense through cooperation. Not every protection comes from hardening oneself. Sometimes, safety is woven from connection. In dry savannas, Thorny acacia trees provide shelter and nectar for ants. In return, ants patrol the trunk-attack leaf-eaters, even cut away encroaching vines. A mutual relationship so refined, it resembles a silent biological contract. The tree cannot run, but it can nourish allies. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The acacia and the ants transform one another. Defense here is not closure, it is selective openness. Plants even secrete nectar outside flowers to attract protective insects. Sweetness becomes strategy. Perhaps we too are not designed to endure alone. There are ants in our lives, friends, family, communities of understanding. There are drops of nectar we offer listening sincerity that nurture mutual protection. Defense need not be higher walls. It may be deeper bonds. Imagine a night forest, an acacia trembling lightly, ants moving along its bark, a droplet of nectar glistening in moonlight. No battlefield noise, only silent agreements. Tonight as you lie down, remember you were born within a network. Every sincere connection is a living contract where both become stronger. Breathe in, breathe out, and let the image remain a tree not alone in the grassland, surrounded by loyal small beings. Not an isolated fortress, but a living network. Within cooperation there is peace. Warning communication chemistry, drifting on the wind. If we have seen that plants are never truly alone, when they know how to sign biological contracts with surrounding beings, then tonight we step into an even deeper layer of subtlety. Warning communication. When chemistry drifts upon the wind, when signals spread in silence, and when memory is stored not in a brain but within living structure itself. We often think of communication as the privilege of creatures with nervous systems. Yet in the quiet forest, where there are no nerves, no voices, there exists a warning network astonishing in its complexity. When a leaf is bitten, it does not endure in solitude. Almost immediately, the plant releases volatile organic compounds, invisible scents that diffuse into the air. Neighboring plants, when they smell this signal, begin activating their own defense systems, increasing production of bitter chemicals, reinforcing leaf tissues, preparing for a possible attack. Chemistry drifts on the wind like a whisper. No sound, no cry for help, but a message. Prepare. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, this suggests a profound symbol. Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Every irritation from the outside can awaken an inner response." Neighboring trees, upon receiving signals from an injured neighbor, do not panic, they prepare. They do not wait until they are bitten to act. They learn from the experience of another. In psychological life, perhaps we are similar. We sense subtle changes in the atmosphere. A voice lowering an averted gaze, a prolonged silence. Without words, we still smell that something is about to happen. Our intuition is a kind of mental chemistry, a wireless warning network. Plants do not communicate only through air. They also transmit signals through internal vascular pathways. When one part is injured, signals travel through xylem and phloem, reaching distant regions. Areas untouched begin physiological adjustments, increasing enzymes, altering metabolism. This reminds us that a unified organism is never a collection of isolated parts. A wound in one place can be known elsewhere. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. When one part of the psyche is wounded, the entire system feels it. A small sorrow may spread into bodily fatigue. Yet through that spread, we gain the opportunity for holistic adjustment. Plants even employ electrical signals, bioelectrical impulses that travel rapidly after injury. Not a nervous system like animals, but membrane potential changes running along the stem fast enough to trigger timely defense. A leaf is bitten, and in an instant the whole plant knows. It is difficult not to feel awe at such subtlety. No central brain, yet distributed intelligence. No nerves, yet electric currents. Jung wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. A wound may seem a rupture, yet beneath it an ordered system transmits, restructures, responds." Perhaps most comforting is the memory of stress in plants. After one attack, many species respond faster and stronger the next time. Not memory in a conscious sense, but epigenetic change adjustments in gene expression. A wordless learning. The plant remembers through structure. Human beings carry similar memories. A failure may make us more vigilant. An injury may reveal our limits. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." We are not only what occurred, but how we transform it. Stress memory in plants does not condemn them to permanent fear. It makes them more effective. Not constant tension, but readiness when needed. A gentle reflection before sleep, your difficult experiences are not merely burdens. They may be electrical signals that once ran through your system, helping you understand yourself more deeply, preparing you to stand steadier. Imagine a forest at night. A soft wind carries invisible molecules. A tree at the edge has just been touched by insects. Signals spread through air, through trunk, through roots. No loud sound, only silent preparation. No nerves, yet a refined warning network. And you are the same. You can sense subtle shifts within yourself. You can recognize when to rest, when to set boundaries, when to open. These signals are not always loud, but they are present. Tonight, as you lie down, let body and mind return to that delicate listening. Not listening with ears, but with your whole presence. Breathe in, exhale. Trust that within you is an intelligent warning network built over years. It is not there to make you anxious, but to protect you. Like plants, you do not need nerves to feel. You do not need a loud voice to be heard. In the deep silence of night, chemistry still drifts on the wind. Signals still travel. And life, though not noisy, always knows how to care for itself. The strategy of sacrifice and dispersal. If we have listened to chemical signals drifting on the wind and silent electrical currents running through stems, tonight we enter a deeper, more contemplative chapter, the strategy of sacrifice and dispersal. It sounds sorrowful, yet in nature it is among the highest expressions of survival intelligence. Some leaves, when infected, do not cling desperately. The plant deliberately cuts nutrient flow to the damaged part, creating a quarantine zone. And then the leaf falls, not because the plant is weak, but because it is strong enough to let go. In the night forest, when a yellow leaf falls quietly, we rarely think it may be saving the entire tree. Yet it is so. The infected part separates, so the rest may live. Through Jung's perspective, this evokes a psychological truth. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. Sometimes, for awareness to mature, we must lose a part of ourselves, an old belief, a relationship, a once familiar identity. Letting go is not failure. It may be protection of deeper life. The tree does not mourn a leaf as humans mourn, but we may learn from its composure. When something in our lives becomes infected, a toxic habit, a harmful bond, a limiting belief, clinging is not loyalty. Sometimes it is delayed healing. Leaf fall is biological decision. Symbolically, it is a rite of maturation. Beyond sacrifice, plants disperse life. Some seed pods burst open, propelling seeds far from the mother plant. A forceful act, yet not destruction but expansion of survival chances. If a seed falls beneath its mother's shadow, it lacks light and nutrients. Dispersal grants space. Perhaps we too have experienced such explosions events pushing us from comfort zones into new terrain. At first it may feel like exile, but deeper still it may be the soul's survival strategy. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." The seed cannot control the burst that carries it away, yet it holds potential to root in new soil. Dispersal is not rootlessness. It is carrying roots into new ground. Some seeds are bitter, containing toxins to protect young life. The bitterness is not cruelty, it is early armor. While still fragile before roots and leaves, protection is necessary. New beginnings often carry bitterness, caution, distance, not coldness, but protection for tender growth. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Jung wrote. Acceptance requires facing wounded parts that once built bitter shells. Yet, like seeds, protective coats do not last forever. When soil is safe, moisture, sufficient light, gentle, the seed cracks. Armor dissolves, green emerges, sacrifice, dispersal, letting go, not endings, transitions of life. Sometimes survival means release. Trees do not cling to every leaf through winter. They trust the cycle. They trust spring's return. In all chaos there is a cosmos, Jung reminded us. Letting go may feel chaotic, yet beneath, a new order forms. Tonight, if you are holding too tightly a memory, regret, unanswered question, imagine yourself as a tree in the night forest, a yellow leaf trembling. You need not tear it away. Allow the natural process. When time comes, it will fall. Breathe in, exhale. Feel relief in not having to hold everything. Like the tree, you do not diminish by releasing a part. You protect the rest. You create space for new buds. If life has ever propelled you from the familiar, perhaps it was not punishment, but dispersal of your potential into wider fields. In night's stillness, soften. Not every loss is an end. Some are life's strategy, and within the endless cycle you continue growing, sometimes by holding, sometimes by gently letting go. Intelligent deception, defeating the enemy before it begins. If we have crossed strategies of sacrifice and release where life loses a part to preserve the whole, tonight we enter another refined realm of plant wisdom, intelligent deception. Not deception as human deceit, but the art of guiding perception, influencing another's decision before attack begins. Defense is not only resistance. Sometimes it is changing the opponent's mind. Some passion flowers create small structures on leaves that resemble butterfly eggs. Female butterflies, seeing these eggs, assume another has already laid claim. Because many species avoid laying eggs on occupied plants to prevent larval competition, they depart. The plant does not drive them away. It plants an idea. Strange that a being without a brain can read another's behavior and influence it through simulated imagery. No battle, no wound, just a decision altered in the intruder's mind. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The butterfly believes it chooses freely, yet an image guides it. Humans are similar. We decide not only through reason, but through symbols, memories, colors, archetypes. Passion flower holds no moral agenda. It simply knows that influencing perception avoids conflict. Some orchids mimic nectar, without reward image scent structure suggesting sweetness. Pollinators visit, pollinate, leave. No conflict, only redirection. In human life, we create images, smiles, composure, confidence, sometimes adaptive layers. Jung called this the persona. The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. Persona is adaptation like nectar mimicry, but forgetting it is a mask may disconnect us from deeper self. Certain orchids mimic female insects in form, color, scent. Males attempt mating. Pollen transfers. A flawless performance of nature. Defense and reproduction merge. The plant does not attack. It touches instinct. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, Jung wrote. Orchids do not create instinct. They activate it. Humans too are guided by unconscious signals in advertising relationships, subtle cues. Another strategy, red pigmentation in young leaves. When tender and vulnerable, some leaves turn red or purple, signaling age, or toughness, discouraging herbivores, or confusing insect vision. Not confrontation, but hesitation. In Jungian psychology, shadow is the unacknowledged part. Plants do not deny predators' existence. They redirect them. Not every conflict requires battle. Sometimes adjusting appearance signals boundaries, prevents conflict entirely. Defense is not always a wall. It may be shaping how one is perceived. Yet Jung warned of unconscious manipulation distancing us from authenticity. The lesson is not deceit, but awareness of symbolic power. Tonight, imagine a silent forest. On a passion flower leaf, false eggs gleam in moonlight. A butterfly approaches, pauses, leaves. No collision. Elsewhere, an orchid releases subtle fragrance. An insect arrives, departs with pollen. The cycle completes in silence. Defense need not be loud. Sometimes it is the right image at the right moment. Breathe in. Exhale. You need not fight everything. You may adjust how you appear, how you signal. Choose wisdom over conflict. Understand instinct rather than be ruled by it. In gentle darkness, you need not defeat the enemy. Sometimes it is enough that the battle never begins. Defense. Through surface structure we have walked through. Sacrifice and subtle deception. Tonight we pause at a quieter layer of defense. Not potent toxins. Not explosive dispersal. Not dramatic distraction. Just the surface. Tiny structures upon leaf skin. Yet here again nature's quiet wisdom speaks. Some leaves are covered in fine hairs. Under sunlight, they scatter light, creating glare that confuses insect landing. No threat, no toxin, just slight difficulty, and many herbivores depart for easier targets. Some retain dew droplets. Moisture fosters fungi harmful to insects. The plant does not attack, it adjusts conditions. Some leaves are coated with slick wax. Insects slip, expend energy, eventually give up. Not because the plant is dangerous, because it is inconvenient. Sometimes inconvenience is enough. Jung wrote, "What you resist persists." Plants do not resist in combative sense. They alter the surface, alter the point of contact. Humans can do the same. Not every intrusion requires confrontation. Adjust boundaries. Make encroachment slightly less comfortable. Surface strategies increase the cost of invasion. In nature, organisms choose least energy paths. The greatest and most important problems of life are fundamentally insoluble, only outgrown, Jung wrote. Surface defense is outgrowing rather than crushing. Gentle dignity of life. Imagine a wax-coated leaf under moonlight. An insect lands, slips, tries again, then flies away. The plant neither rejoices nor rages. It simply exists in its structure. In inner life, perhaps you need not argue endlessly. Changing your response may dissolve provocation. Sometimes inconvenience is sufficient. Fine hairs scatter light like subtle opacity. Not everyone requires full access to your interior. A little mystery protects sacred space. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Surface defense protects inner awakening. Tonight, reflect on your surfaces. Where might you need a thin wax layer? Not isolation, but balance. Breathe in, exhale. Imagine a gentle membrane of light around you. Not a fortress, just enough that what is misaligned naturally slides away. You need not defeat every aggressor. You need not prove strength through battle. Sometimes simply making intrusion inconvenient is enough. In the night, forest leaves shimmer with dew. Fine hairs reflect moonlight. Wax smooths contact. No loud sound, only calm presence. You too can be soft without fragility, gentle without vulnerability. A slight surface adjustment can protect your deepest core. As sleep approaches, let this thought settle like dew upon a leaf. Life does not always require powerful weapons. Sometimes wisdom lives in the smallest details, enough for what does not belong to drift away, leaving quiet space for rest. Regulation of nutrients and resources. If we have journeyed together through mechanical armor, chemical signals drifting on the wind, subtle deceptions, and even the gentle inconvenience upon the surface of a leaf, then tonight we enter an even quieter strategy. No sharp thorns, no warning fragrance, no slippery wax, only the adjustment of nutrient flow within, a silent decision to stop nourishing what is being invaded. There are plants that, when a leaf is bitten, quickly withdraw sugars and nutrients from that area. Transport within the vascular system is recalibrated. The damaged portion is no longer the rich banquet it once was. For insects, each bite yields less value. The plant does not strike back. It simply stops supplying. Some species even quarantine the attacked region, isolating injured tissue and preventing resources from flowing into it. As if the plant were saying, I cannot stop you from biting, but I can decide what you receive. In tomatoes, when caterpillars feed on the leaves, the plant increases production of digestive inhibiting proteins. These molecules reduce the efficiency of the insect's digestive enzymes. The caterpillar continues to eat, but digests poorly, absorbs fewer nutrients, and grows more slowly. It is not destroyed immediately, but it operates at a loss. Instead of attacking forcefully, the plant makes feeding unprofitable. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, this becomes a profound metaphor for psychic energy. Jung understood libido not merely as sexual energy, but as life energy, the current directed toward what we care about, invest in, and nourish. Where we place energy, growth follows. If a negative thought, a toxic relationship, or a painful memory continually feeds on the mind, our instinct may be direct confrontation, arguing, forcing ourselves to forget, denying its existence. Yet the more we resist, the more energy we pour into it. The plant teaches another way: withdraw energy, not to deny the leaf eater's existence, simply to stop nourishing it. In inner life, this can be subtle. When someone provokes you, responding with anger gives them sugar, emotional fuel. But if you remain steady without excessive reaction, the behavior may gradually lose its momentum. Jung once said, "Energy flows where attention goes." When we withdraw sugar from the bitten region, we withdraw attention and emotional investment from what harms us. This is not avoidance. The plant does not deny the bite. It senses, recognizes, and then adjusts its internal currents. It is a conscious response at a biological level. quarantining the attacked area is also a powerful image. In analytical psychology, Jung spoke of establishing boundaries between the ego and overwhelming unconscious contents. Without boundaries, we may be flooded by emotion, memory, or fear. Isolation is not denial. Isolation is protection of the whole system. Just as a plant isolates injured tissue to prevent infection from spreading, a person may need to limit contact with harmful sources, not because we are weak, but because we understand the value of wholeness. The digestive inhibitor strategy in tomatoes suggests another layer of meaning. The plant does not prevent feeding, but makes it inefficient. The caterpillar expends more energy for the same intake. Over time, the behavior ceases to be worthwhile. In human relationships, certain behaviors persist only when rewarded. If someone manipulates you and consistently receives strong emotional reactions, they are nourished by that attention. But when you alter your response, no longer supplying emotional reward, the behavior may gradually fade. This is not victory by force. It is victory by structure. Jung emphasized that psychological maturity arises from restructuring the relationship between ego and unconscious. We cannot erase instinct, but we can decide where energy flows. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this plant strategy is economy. In nature, energy is precious. No organism can squander it and survive. The plant does not exhaust itself trying to destroy a single caterpillar. It optimizes. Humans at times waste energy in unnecessary battles, arguing to win, proving ourselves right, holding old resentments. Each time we pour sugar into the bitten region, if instead we withdraw energy, focusing on what nourishes and enlarges us, the leaf eaters of life may naturally lose their hold. Imagine a tomato plant in the quiet garden at night. A small caterpillar bites a leaf. In silence, the plant shifts its biochemistry. Digestive inhibitors are produced. Sugar flow is adjusted. No sound, no flash, only redistribution. Within your soul, the same is possible. There may be regions, once wounded memories that consumed much energy. You can learn to withdraw attention from them, not to deny them, but to heal. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Withdrawing sugar from the bitten region is such a choice, refusing to let the past consume present vitality. Tonight, as you lie down gently, ask yourself, where in my life is too much energy being spent? Is there a repetitive thought that yields no growth? Is there a relationship sustained only by the attention I continue to feed it? Breathe in, exhale. Imagine your energy like sap flowing through a tree. It moves where you direct care. And like the plant, you have the right to adjust its course. You need not strike hard. You need not destroy. Simply make what harms you no longer profitable. In the quiet garden of night, the plant is not fragile. It is wise in resource allocation. You may be the same, gentle yet discerning, soft yet steady. As sleep approaches, let this thought settle. Strength does not always lie in confrontation. Sometimes it lies in choosing what to nourish and what to stop nourishing. And in that deep silence, you may find yourself no longer eroded by what is unworthy. You return to being a balanced ecosystem, where energy is preserved for growth, for light, and for peace. Specialized defense and the evolutionary arms race as night falls and the garden grows still. We may imagine nature resting, yet within every leaf and vein of sap, subtle movement continues. No clashing swords, no smoke, only refinements shaped across millions of years, a silent arms race between plants and insects. Consider milkweed and the monarch butterfly. Across the wide fields of North America, monarch butterflies seek milkweed to lay their eggs. The larvae hatch and feed on leaves rich in toxic compounds called cardenolides. The toxins deter many creatures. Yet monarch caterpillars have evolved tolerance, even storing the toxins within their bodies, transforming them into shields against predatory birds. The plant creates poison. The caterpillar adapts. Birds learn to recognize warning coloration. The cycle continues. Then there is nicotine, the well-known compound in Nicotiana tabacum. Tobacco produces nicotine as a chemical defense. Yet the tobacco hornworm evolves detoxifying enzymes, even using nicotine vapors to repel its own predators. Each time the plant strengthens toxicity, the caterpillar adjusts. Each adaptation invites another. Some insects cut leaf veins before feeding, avoiding the flow of sticky, toxic latex. They perform surgery upon the leaf, disrupting sap flow before beginning their meal. In response, plants evolve enzymes capable of breaking down components of insect saliva, counteracting part of the strategy. A wordless dialogue, a competition without declaration of end. Through Jung's perspective, this reflects not only biology but psychological development. Inner life is dynamic, a tension between opposites, ego and shadow, instinct and ideal. The evolutionary arms race resembles the relationship between ego and shadow. When ego attempts to suppress a dark aspect, it does not vanish. It adapts, finding new expression in dreams, symptoms, unexpected reactions. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In evolution, no side wins permanently. Each advantage is temporary. So too, in psychological growth, there is no fixed perfection, only continual refinement. Milkweed does not produce toxins from hatred. Monarch caterpillars do not adapt from defiance. Each acts to survive. Many inner conflicts arise from survival needs, love, safety, recognition. When we see this, we may approach inner struggles with compassion. Nicotine is not malice. Hornworm is not villain. Shadow is not enemy. Conflict held in balance produces sophistication. Without caterpillars, milkweed might not develop complex defenses. Without toxins, monarch butterflies would not blaze orange as warning symbols. Jung called maturation individuation, becoming whole through integration of opposites. Nature models, not total peace, but dynamic balance. Tonight, imagine a milkweed leaf in moonlight, latex beneath its surface. A caterpillar bites, then carefully cuts veins. Inside, genes activate, enzymes increase. No hatred, only response. When you face criticism, failure, sorrow, it may feel like attack, or it may be invitation to evolve. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, Jung wrote. As you prepare for sleep, imagine your inner arms race as a dance, not a battlefield. Each challenge a step, each adjustment refinement. You need not be perfect. You need only continue evolving. Carnivorous plants, when defense becomes offense. When we think of plants, we imagine gentleness. Leaves opening to sunlight, roots deep in soil, flowers blooming quietly. Yet in nutrient-poor swamps where nitrogen is scarce, some plants choose another path. Defense becomes active acquisition. Imagine the luminous tubes of the pitcher plant. Leaves curl into deep vessels, slippery rims, digestive enzymes at the bottom. Sweet scent attracts insects. They land, slip, fall, dissolve. No chase, no sound, only structure perfected. Then the Venus flytrap, remarkable for its ability to count. Sensitive hairs trigger closure only after 2 touches within a brief span. 2 touches, 1 decision. as if ensuring it is not rain or wind but life opportunity. Sundew glistens with adhesive droplets. Insects are trapped. Tendrils slowly curl inward. Enzymes secreted nutrients absorbed. In harsh environments, leaves become stomachs. Through Jung's lens, this is transformation under scarcity. Identity is not fixed. Under pressure, structure evolves. Venus flytrap waits for confirmation, a reminder not to react impulsively. Mature ego can count waiting before closing. Pitcher plant evokes the unconscious, a deep vessel where experiences fall, dissolve, and return transformed. Painful experiences digested consciously become nourishment. Jung wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Carnivorous plants are not cruel, they adapt. In barren soil they expand definition of leaf. So may you. Tonight imagine a distant marsh, pitchers standing like lanterns. An insect drifts unaware into an ancient design. No malice, only adaptation. In barren seasons of life, you too may develop new inner structures, ways to learn, absorb, grow. Leaf can become stomach. Wound can become wisdom. Breathe slowly. Trust transformation. The larger message, stillness, is not passivity when night descends, the world slows. Plants stand unmoving beneath stars. They seem passive, but stillness is surface. Without legs to flee, claws to fight, or voices to warn, plants nonetheless operate intricate strategies. Cells adjust, signals travel, memory forms. Stillness is a form of strength. Jung believed silence is not weakness. Growth often occurs unseen, in reflection, in integration. Plants withdraw nutrients, build wax layers, produce toxins, signal through wind, remember stress. All without drama, all with precision. Individuation unfolds quietly. In modern life, speed is praised. Yet nature whispers another truth slowness sustains. Imagine a forest at night. Roots connect through fungal networks, exchanging nutrients warnings. Your psyche has networks too, memory, intuition. What Jung called the collective unconscious. Your silence is not emptiness. It is space for transformation. You need not react to every stimulus. You may stand still and remain strong. Like a leaf beneath moonlight, delicate yet complex, you carry adaptive wisdom within. Your stillness is foundation of insight. Your slowness is rhythm of growth. Precision defense, the chemical moat at the wound. In the night garden beneath dew-laden leaves, small battles unfold with astonishing precision. A leaf is scratched, a spore lands, a bacterium finds an opening. At that site, the plant builds a chemical moat, not throughout the entire body, not panic spreading everywhere, only there, only enough. Antimicrobial compounds are produced precisely at the invasion point. Some plants initiate a hypersensitive response, surrounding cells intentionally die, forming a barrier that halts spread. A small brown spot on a leaf is not failure, it is strategy. Jung spoke of boundaries within psyche. Integration does not mean letting darkness flood everything. It means recognizing, containing, transforming. A painful memory can be acknowledged without defining the whole self. A failure can remain a small brown spot, not the entire leaf. Sacrificing a few cells to save the organism is not tragedy, but wisdom. Sometimes we too must relinquish outdated beliefs, toxic ties, or harmful habits to protect wholeness. Crisis holds seed of renewal. Tonight, reflect on your own brown spots. Perhaps they are signs of protection, moments you established boundaries, chose silence over escalation. You quarantined. You learned. You continued living. Healing need not be dramatic. It can begin precisely gently. When dawn comes, the leaf remains marked but green intact, reaching toward light. So do you. Your quiet sacrifices, your chosen boundaries, your restrained reactions, these may be the chemical moats that preserved your inner forest. Stillness is not passivity. Sacrifice is not meaningless. In the deep night, breathe softly. Trust your capacity for precise adjustment. Sometimes, to save the whole forest within it, is enough to accept a single brown mark, a subtle emblem of resilient, silent growth, recognizing the invader. The early warning system. In the quiet garden of night, when all movement seems to have ceased, there remains a layer of subtle activity unfolding in silence. An early warning system, sensitive and astonishingly precise. Plants have no eyes to see an enemy, no ears to hear approaching footsteps, no brain to think in the way we understand. And yet they recognize, they analyze, they diagnose. When a bacterium or fungus touches the surface of a leaf, it carries molecular signatures, distinctive chemical structures like biological fingerprints. Plants possess receptors on their cell membranes that recognize these common patterns known as PAMPs, pathogen-associated molecular patterns. The mere detection of this signal is enough to activate defense mechanisms even before the invader penetrates more deeply. They do not wait for severe injury. They do not wait for damage to spread. They respond from the very first signal. In some cases, plants can even analyze the saliva of insects as they begin feeding. The chemical composition of that saliva helps the plant determine precisely which species is attacking. From there, it selects an appropriate strategy, producing specific toxins, altering tissue structure, or emitting signals that attract the insect's natural enemies. The plant does not guess. The plant diagnoses. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, this mechanism reflects a vital quality of a mature soul, the capacity for discernment. Jung suggested that consciousness is not merely knowing, but knowing how to differentiate, differentiating between real fear and imagined anxiety, between present danger and the echo of an old memory, between constructive feedback and personal attack. How many times in life have we reacted as though every stimulus were a threat? A passing glance triggers suspicion. A moment of silence breeds unease. In such moments, we are guessing rather than diagnosing. The plant teaches another rhythm: listen, recognize, respond precisely. In plant immunity, such precision conserves energy. Defense consumes resources. If a plant overreacts, it wastes precious reserves, compromising growth and reproduction. Thus, the strategy is not merely strength, but appropriateness. In inner life, psychological energy is also limited. Jung called this libido not only sexual energy, but the total energy of life. If we expend it on imagined dangers, we grow weary and depleted. When we learn to diagnose rather than guess, we protect our energy. Imagine a leaf sensing the first tremors of invasion. Receptors on the cell surface trigger internal signaling cascades. Calcium ions fluctuate. Enzymes mobilize. Defense genes activate, all within minutes, sometimes seconds. Yet the response does not spread throughout the entire organism unless necessary. It is calibrated to the level of threat. This is the intelligence of living systems. Jung once said that true maturity comes when a person can face the darkness without being consumed by it. That requires accurate recognition. Is this feeling aligned with present reality? Is this fear current or an echo from the past? Just as a plant analyzes insect saliva to identify the exact species attacking, we can learn to analyze our own emotions. When anger arises, we might gently ask, "What am I responding to? Is this truly dangerous, or am I activating an old memory?" The plant does not confuse wind with insect. We too can learn not to confuse inconvenience with threat. There is tenderness in this image. Plants do not live in constant panic. Though surrounded by countless microorganisms and insects, they activate defense only when specific signals are detected. The rest of the time, they continue photosynthesizing, growing, blooming. If we remain in a state of perpetual vigilance, we leave little space for creativity and love. Yet if we abandon all vigilance, we become vulnerable. The balance lies in diagnosis. Jung believed that the collective unconscious contains archetypes that help us recognize universal patterns. As consciousness develops, we learn to use these patterns flexibly rather than be blindly governed by them. Plants do something similar. They recognize common molecular signatures of bacteria and fungi universal patterns, but adjust their response according to context. A strategy for a leaf-eating caterpillar differs from one for parasitic fungus. A response to bacteria differs from one to drought. In inner life, this means not using the same defense mechanism for every situation. Silence is not always required. Confrontation is not always necessary. Withdrawal is not always the answer. Choosing the appropriate strategy is an expression of wisdom. Tonight, as you lie down and close your eyes, think of the early warning system within you. Your body does this each day. Your heart races in danger. Your breath slows in safety. Your mind holds the same capacity if you allow it space to listen. You need not live in constant defense. You may trust that you can recognize and respond when necessary. Imagine a forest under moonlight. Thousands of leaves are listening through molecular receptors, quiet yet alert, not panicked yet prepared. You too can live this way, not guessing others' intentions too soon, not concluding the future from a single signal, not allowing fear to spread before understanding its nature. Instead, you may diagnose, is this truly dangerous? Am I reacting to the present or to the past? What strategy is most fitting now? The stillness of night is an ideal time to practice this. In silence, we hear more clearly. In slowness, we distinguish more precisely. Plants have no voice, yet they possess a biological intelligence that astonishes humanity. And you, with consciousness and self-reflection, can go even further. You can become your own early warning system, not ruled by panic, not guided by neglect, but grounded in accurate recognition and measured response. The plant does not guess its diagnoses. And when you learn to diagnose the movements within your own soul, you step further along the path toward wholeness. Breathe slowly. Feel your body. Listen to subtle inner signals. In this stillness, you are not passive. You operate with the quiet precision of a leaf beneath moonlight, perceptive, aware, and gentle enough to respond only when truly necessary. And that perhaps is one of the highest forms of strength. The arms race with pathogens. In the tranquil darkness of the garden, when all seems submerged in deep sleep, a silent race continues without sound, without flame, without clashing metal. It is the evolutionary arms race between plant and pathogen, a confrontation without rest, where each side evolves, adapts, and seeks to outmaneuver the other. Pathogens do not simply attack, they are more subtle. Many bacteria and fungi have evolved effector molecules, chemical tools capable of silencing the plant's alarm system. They infiltrate and attempt to disable the early warning signals, preventing recognition, like an intruder who does not break the door but cuts the alarm wires before entering. Yet the story does not end there. Plants evolve as well. When a pathogenic trick becomes common, plants develop new receptors, molecular eyes capable of recognizing that very tactic. What was once a secret weapon becomes a signal for detection, and the spiral continues. Pathogen shifts, strategy, plant adjusts, recognition. An endless evolutionary race. In some cases, when a plant identifies a dangerous pathogen, it triggers a powerful reaction known as a reactive oxygen burst. Reactive oxygen molecules are rapidly released at the infection site, directly damaging bacteria and fungi. It resembles a carefully controlled biological grenade, strong enough to eliminate the invader yet confined to a small space to prevent wider harm. Here lies a delicate equation: how to destroy the enemy without destroying oneself. Through Jung's perspective, this race mirrors a deep inner dynamic, the confrontation between consciousness and shadow. Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, a darker aspect containing impulses, fears, and repressed instincts. The shadow is not always gentle. At times it attempts to silence our moral alarm system. It whispers justifications, persuading us that a negative action is reasonable, that anger is entirely justified, like a pathogen trying to mute the plant's alarm. Yet, like the plant, the human soul can evolve awareness. When we reflect and learn from experience, we develop new receptors, the capacity to detect the subtle tactics of our own shadow. Jealousy no longer disguised as care, control no longer hidden behind concern. We begin to see underlying motives. This race does not happen once and end. It is continuous. As we mature, the shadow expresses itself in subtler forms, and each time we are given an opportunity to deepen awareness. The reactive oxygen burst, the controlled biological grenade, is a powerful metaphor. It is not blind rage. It is strong reaction, contained. The plant does not scorch all its tissue. It targets the infected area. In inner life, there are moments when decisive action is necessary, setting clear boundaries, saying no firmly, ending a toxic relationship. But such decisiveness must be regulated, or it may expand into prolonged resentment, harming healthy parts of the psyche. Jung emphasized that the goal is not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it. This requires delicate balance, neutralizing what is harmful without self-destruction. If we attempt to eradicate every negative impulse, we may become rigid or lifeless. If we release all restraint, we risk destructive behavior. The plant understands this biologically. Reactive oxygen can damage plant cells if uncontrolled. Therefore, antioxidant enzymes are simultaneously activated to extinguish the reaction once its task is complete. Destruction under control, defense with limits, strength paired with self-regulation. In life, there are external pathogens, hurtful words, betrayal, injustice. There are also internal ones, self-doubt, shame, self-sabotage. Both may attempt to silence your inner alarm, preventing recognition of harm. But you can evolve awareness. Each painful experience reflected upon becomes a new receptor. You begin to recognize early signs of unhealthy dynamics. You sense when entering a negative thought loop. You learn to pause before reacting. This is silent maturity. Imagine a forest beneath moonlight. Somewhere, a leaf detects a subtle bacterium. Signals cascade. A reactive oxygen burst flares, swift and precise. The pathogen is contained. Then calm returns. The leaf resumes photosynthesis, continues living. No one in the forest knows a small battle occurred. But life was preserved. So it is within you. Invisible inner battles, moments you chose not to let anger dominate, not to believe a destructive thought, not to speak words that wound. These are controlled bursts, strong enough to protect, not strong enough to destroy yourself. The arms race in nature reminds us that life is not static. It is continual adaptation. There is no final state of absolute safety. Yet there is no reason for fear. Your system can learn and adjust. Jung described individuation as lifelong. We do not become perfect. We become more conscious, not eliminating contradiction, but balancing it. Balancing between destroying the enemy and not self-destructing. Tonight, as you listen to your breath, trust that within you, it exists a quiet intelligence like that forest. You may not recognize all the protective mechanisms you have developed, but they are there in discernment, in self-awareness, in boundaries you have learned to set. You need not win every battle. You need only continue evolving. The race itself is not a sign of insecurity. It is evidence of life. As long as you learn, adjust, and seek balance, you are growing. And in this gentle darkness, while the world rests, you too may rest, knowing your inner systems continue to protect and adapt. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with quiet biological and psychological wisdom, doing what is necessary for you to survive and mature. Breathe deeply. Trust your capacity for balance. Like a leaf beneath moonlight, you can face life's pathogens not with panic, but with precision, self-regulation, and a gentle yet enduring strength. Systemic immunity. When the plant remembers the attack, when moonlight touches each leaf, something from long ago still lingers. Small battles, silent invasions. Their echoes present not as images or stories, but as a gentle state of readiness throughout the entire organism. After infection, a plant does not return exactly as before. It enters a special state known as systemic acquired resistance. From the initial infection point, signals travel through vascular tissue to distant leaves. Those untouched leaves become prepared. Defense genes are placed on standby. Protective enzymes increase. Antimicrobial compounds are readied. The plant remembers, but not as animals remember. No images, no recollection. Only internal preparation, silent and systemic. Through Jung's view, this mirrors how the human soul accumulates experience. What we endure does not vanish. It settles into the unconscious, forming structures that shape perception and response. Like the plant after injury, we are not entirely the same. A part of us grows more alert, perhaps sensing early signs of repetition, perhaps becoming more intuitive to potential harm. Yet readiness has two faces. In nature, systemic immunity enables faster and stronger responses. It may last weeks, significant in a leaf's life, but defense consumes energy. Maintaining readiness diverts resources from growth, flowering, reproduction. Preparation has a cost, so it is within us. After betrayal, we may become more cautious in relationships. After failure, more careful when beginning again. A part of us remains ready. This is not wrong. It is learning. But if vigilance never softens, we exhaust psychological energy. We struggle to trust, to open, to enjoy the present. Jung taught that maturity lies not in erasing the past, but integrating it wisely. Memory must transform into wisdom, not burden. Plants do not remain in heightened alarm forever. Systemic resistance has duration. If no new threat arises, baseline returns. Growth resumes. There is deep wisdom in that rhythm. Tonight as you breathe, ask gently, do I still need this level of vigilance? Or may I slowly allow myself greater trust? Immunity is not fear. It is preparation. Preparation differs from anxiety. Anxiety drains energy without clear aim. Preparation is a quiet structure, enabling swift response when needed without dominating consciousness. If you can look at your vigilance and say, "This protected me," you begin integrating it. Like distant leaves receiving signal from infection, your experiences have influenced many life areas. Yet you may adjust their impact. Imagine a tree once infected. Signals spread. All leaves become ready. Yet they do not curl inward. They continue photosynthesizing. They simply respond faster if needed. That is, emotional maturity. No longer naive yet not closed. Not forgetting yet not ruled by memory. Defense always has trade-offs. The question is not whether to defend, but when and how much. Jung called this path movement toward the self, toward wholeness. Along it we balance openness and caution, trust and vigilance, growth and protection. Plants lack image-based memory, yet they possess internal preparation shaped by experience. You too are shaped by what you have lived. But your structure is not fixed. It can adjust, soften, reorganize. Tonight, feel your preparation as resource, not burden. You are not your past self. You are one who has learned. Like a leaf distant from infection, you may be ready but not tense, swift but not panicked, protective yet open to light. In this quiet garden of night beneath moonlight and still air you may rest, trusting that when safety is present, your system knows how to soften. And like a forest, once weathered by storms, still standing, calm and prepared, you carry a gentle strength, the strength of internal readiness shaped by experience, always moving toward balance. Allies beneath the soil. If one night you walk through a dusk forest and pause beneath the stars, the trees appear motionless. Trunks do not move. Leaves do not flee, all seems still, but beneath the dark soil lies another world alive, interconnected, astonishingly cooperative. Roots are not alone. They are surrounded by beneficial bacteria and fine fungal threads weaving like neural networks in an underground city. There is not only competition but treaties, exchanges, silent alliances. Defense is not only fighting. Defense is building networks. When roots interact with beneficial bacteria, something subtle occurs. Baseline immunity activates gently, just enough to remain prepared. These microbes do not cause disease. They train the plant's defenses like ongoing rehearsal. Thus, when true pathogens appear, response is faster and more precise. Not every stimulus is threat. Some contacts strengthen. Through Jung's lens, this mirrors a profound truth: we do not mature in isolation. Gentle challenges, supportive relationships, positive exchanges all train the psyche for greater trials. Mycorrhizal fungi form beautiful symbiosis. Fungal threads attach to roots, expanding water and mineral absorption. In return, the plant provides sugars, a fair exchange, an underground economy operating in darkness. Through this network, roots receive nutrients and occupy space-limiting pathogen access. No dramatic battle required, strong presence and connection suffice. In inner life, this resembles building healthy relationships. Surrounded by supportive, honest, kind individuals, you are less vulnerable to negativity. Not because you are harder, but because you are supported. Roots also release compounds, deterring harmful nematodes, subtle signals. This place is not suitable for you. Sometimes altering environment protects more effectively than direct combat. How often do we fight negativity head-on, instead of adjusting environment? Setting boundaries, changing habits, leaving toxic spaces may be enough. plants even nourish beneficial microbes with carbohydrates, investing energy to sustain long-term balance. Jung believed psychological energy works similarly. Investing in positive relationships creates nourishing cycles. Giving kindness strengthens supportive networks. Not all resources must be hoarded. Some must be given to create lasting protection. Some plants disrupt bacterial communication systems known as quorum sensing. Many bacteria become dangerous only after reaching sufficient numbers and coordinating chemically. By interfering with these signals, plants prevent coordinated attack. A refined strategy, not attacking individuals, but disrupting harmful networks. In psychology, this echoes how we may prevent negative thoughts from forming destructive alliances. If a self-doubting thought arises and we do not connect it to painful memories or weave it into a larger narrative of failure, it dissolves. We need not battle every thought. We need only prevent destructive networks from forming. Beneath the soil, unseen life is protected. Jung noted that much psychic life unfolds in the unconscious. If we cultivate a healthy inner network, positive beliefs, integrated memories, supportive experiences, we are steadier amid change. Defense is not only fighting, defense is building foundation. A tree stands firm not solely due to strong trunk, but deep roots and broad symbiotic network. A person stands firm not only through willpower, but through meaningful connections, inner values, and self-understanding. Tonight, as you breathe, imagine beneath you a web of roots and fungi interwoven. Imagine your soul holding similar connections with loved ones, with mentors, with experiences that strengthened you. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Even if life's surface feels quiet or solitary beneath it, exchanges continue. Seeds of goodness you once planted may still nourish you. The gentle message from the root world is this: strength lies not in resisting everything alone, but in building right alliances. Jung believed individuation does not eliminate connection. It deepens authentic connection. Not dependency, but symbiosis where both grow. Tree and fungus do not lose identity. They support while remaining distinct. Such is healthy relationship, close yet not dissolved. When you cultivate such networks externally and within, you need not fight every battle alone. Defense becomes stable structure, not constant tension. In this gentle darkness, relax. Trust that beneath the soil of your soul are allies, values, memories, sincere relationships supporting you. Not loudly, not visibly, but steadily. And when dawn arrives, the tree stands firm, not because it fought all night, but because it built connections deep enough to sustain it. So do you. Your defense lies not only in personal strength, but in the networks you nurture. And in this quiet moment before sleep, you may smile softly, knowing you are supported by more than you realize. Activated defense when cut garlic, onion, and the immediate response. In the quiet kitchen late at night, when you slice a clove of garlic or cut an onion in half, something unusual happens. When whole, they are gentle, almost harmless. But the moment the blade passes through, a sharp aroma suddenly rises, and the pungent air brings tears softly to the eyes. It is not accidental. It is a defense strategy activated at the precise moment of injury. Garlic does not always contain allicin, the powerful antibacterial compound responsible for its distinctive scent. When the cells remain intact, the chemical components are kept separate. Only when the structure is broken do enzyme and precursor meet. The reaction unfolds almost instantly, producing allicin like a wave of protection. Onion is similar. The eye-irritating gas is generated only when cellular compartments are cut open, releasing enzymes and sulfur compounds. When intact, they are safe. When attacked, they become intense. Chemicals kept apart, combined only in the presence of injury. Perfect timing. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, this mechanism resembles a subtle symbol of the human soul. Jung once suggested that within each of us lie latent energies, not always expressed, yet always ready when needed. He described them as unconscious contents that can become strength when activated in the right circumstances. How many times in life have we believed ourselves fragile until tested? How many times did we not know we could set firm boundaries until someone crossed the line? Like garlic, we may carry within us a psychological allicin, a protective capacity that appears only when truly required. What is striking is that when intact, garlic and onion do not waste energy constantly producing such potent compounds. Everything is held in potential, safe when whole, intense when attacked. This is a gentle lesson in balance. There is no need to live in perpetual defense, no need to radiate sharpness at all times. Strength can remain quiet, still, an unused possibility resting within. Jung emphasized that maturity does not mean being strong at every moment, but knowing when to use strength. If we react fiercely to every small friction, we soon exhaust ourselves. Yet if we never react, we may be violated. Garlic and onion teach us about timing. When cut, the response is immediate. No delay. No hesitation. This too matters. There are moments in life when delayed response allows harm to spread. A repeated insult, a boundary crossed again and again. If we never activate our chemical reaction, we may gradually lose integrity. But that response need not last forever. Just as the sharp scent of garlic softens, just as onion gas appears only in the instant of slicing protective energy, may dissolve once danger has passed. There is deep beauty in keeping chemical components separate until necessary. It resembles the way we hold powerful thoughts, emotions, and impulses within a safe space of consciousness. They are not denied. They are simply not allowed to combine and erupt without just cause. Jung wrote that the shadow is not something to destroy, but something to recognize and integrate. Within each of us, there is anger, power, even the capacity to wound. Yet when these energies are kept apart, understood clearly, they harm no one. They become tools when circumstance calls. A truly strong person is not one who is always sharp. It is one who can be gentle when safe and resolute when invaded. Garlic and onion do not attack first. They respond only when cut. This reminds us of the difference between aggression and self-defense. Healthy defense does not seek enemies. It simply protects integrity when required. In the journey of individuation Jung described, we learn to recognize the parts within us that can become intense. If unconscious, they may erupt uncontrollably, but if understood as protective, they can be used responsibly. Imagine a bulb of garlic resting quietly in the dark soil. No one smells its pungency. No one's eyes sting. Yet within, all components are ready not to harm but to ensure it is not helpless if attacked. You are the same. Perhaps you do not always display strength. Perhaps you choose gentleness, silence, courtesy. That does not mean you are weak. Perhaps you are simply intact, not yet required to activate your response. And if one day life cuts into you through challenge, loss, or betrayal, you may discover the rich aroma of your inner strength. It may surprise others. It may surprise you. But it was always there. Perfect timing, safe when whole, intense when attacked. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, think of the parts of you resting quietly without the need to prove themselves. You do not have to demonstrate strength at every moment. You do not need defense where there is no danger. Allow yourself to be gentle when safe. and trust that you can be strong when necessary. In this stillness, you may smile at nature's wisdom. Even a small onion knows how to keep its compounds separate until the moment arrives. Even a clove of garlic knows how to transform injury into immediate protection. You carry this mechanism too, not at the molecular level, but at the level of the soul. Your intensity is not your constant nature. It is a protective capacity. Used at the right time and in the right measure, it does not destroy you, it preserves your wholeness. Breathe slowly, feel your intactness, and know that within the components of strength are being carefully kept waiting for the perfect moment if it is ever truly needed. Caffeine, tea, cacao, and rosemary bitterness is a history of survival. Perhaps you have taken a sip of coffee early in the morning, feeling a gentle bitterness spread across your tongue, or savored a cup of tea, leaving a soft astringency in your throat. Perhaps you have tasted a piece of pure dark chocolate, deep and warm in its bitterness, or inhaled the fragrance of rosemary when brushing your hand through a small garden. These flavors, familiar and intimate in our kitchens, are, in truth, remnants of a very long history of survival. Bitterness was not created to please humans. It was created to protect. Caffeine, the compound that awakens us, acts as a neurotoxin to many insects. When insects consume leaves containing caffeine, their nervous systems become overstimulated, leading to paralysis or death. For the plant, it is chemical defense. For us, it is a warm cup of morning coffee. Polyphenols in tea create its distinctive astringency. When insects chew leaves, these compounds bind to proteins in their digestive systems, reducing nutrient absorption. The tea leaf need not flee. It only needs to become difficult to digest. The cacao tree does something similar. When attacked, it can increase production of more bitter chemicals, encouraging invaders to depart early. And plants such as mint, sage, and rosemary release essential oils into the air, a defensive atmosphere diffusing outward, causing insects to hesitate before approaching. Neem is even more refined. Its compounds can disrupt insect molting, interrupting the life cycle of the leaf eater. What we call flavor aroma spice is in origin the language of self-defense. Through Jung's perspective, this reveals a deeper layer of meaning. Jung believed that many features of human psychology, even those we consider unpleasant, arise from survival needs. Fear, suspicion, even anger do not appear without cause. They are responses shaped by a long human history of protecting life. Bitterness within the soul has such a history as well. There are experiences that make us more astringent, more bitter. A disappointment, a betrayal, a loss. Afterward, we may no longer be as naive. We learn caution. We learn to observe more carefully. We learn not to trust so easily. At first glance, this may seem negative. Yet, on a deeper level, it is the soul's survival strategy. Just as caffeine disrupts an insect's nervous system, our discernment may discourage unhealthy intentions. Just as polyphenols make digestion difficult, our maturity may prevent shallow relationships from taking root. Jung called this part of us the shadow, not because it is evil, but because it is often denied. We wish to be sweet, agreeable, always approachable. Yet if we were only sweetness, we might become easy targets for destructive forces. Nature rarely has only one flavor. Mint and rosemary need not attack directly. They simply make the surrounding air inhospitable. This suggests something about personal energy. There are people who enter a room and immediately create a clear sense of boundary, not through harsh words, but through presence alone. A steadiness that causes inappropriate intentions to withdraw. Inner maturity spreads like essential oil, quiet yet influential. Neem interrupts molting, interfering with development. In psychological life, we too develop neem compounds, the ability to recognize a negative pattern early and refuse to let it mature into habit. When you notice yourself about to repeat an old mistake and choose differently, you interrupt an unhealthy cycle. Bitterness then is not merely reaction, it is memory of survival. Jung believed the most powerful symbols of the collective unconscious carry dual meaning, healing and painful at once. Coffee awakens us, but in excess may quicken the heart. Dark chocolate is bitter, yet contains beneficial compounds. Rosemary is fragrant, yet historically a defense. Within the soul, vigilance protects, yet in excess becomes anxiety. Independence frees, yet in extremity becomes isolation. The question is not to eliminate bitterness, but to understand and regulate it. There is something beautiful here. Humanity has learned to love flavors once created to repel. We roast coffee beans, brew tea, prepare chocolate, plant rosemary in gardens. We transform survival strategy into experience. This is transformation. Jung called it integration. When we no longer fear our shadow, when we understand that sharpness, strictness, even bitterness once served protection, we can use them consciously. They no longer unconsciously govern us. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember the afternoon tea, the faint scent of rosemary in the kitchen, the gentle bitterness of dark chocolate melting slowly on your tongue. Remember that these flavors are histories of life. Stories of how plants learn to endure amid countless threats. You carry such a history too. The scratches of the past, the experiences that made you wiser and more cautious, they are not mistakes. They were necessary strategies. And just as bitterness can become something we learn to appreciate, difficult experiences can become depth within your character. You need not return to naive sweetness. You may be a blend, a little bitter, a little astringent, a little intense, and that mixture forms your identity. In the stillness of night, breathe slowly. Feel the history of survival within each cell, not as burden, but as evidence of adaptation. Flavor in the kitchen is residue of survival strategy, and depth within your soul is the same. They tell the story that you have lived, learned, and protected yourself. And now, when no immediate threat stands before you, you may rest, carrying the gentle bitterness of wisdom like a warm cup of tea beside your bed, releasing a soft fragrance into the peaceful dark. Humans and the exchange. When human beings began to cultivate crops, a quiet exchange took place. We selected fruits that were sweeter, less bitter, softer, easier to eat. Through many generations of breeding, numerous plant species gradually lost the natural defenses that had once helped them survive in the wild. Thorns grew less sharp, bitterness softened. Insect-resistant compounds diminished in exchange for flavors more pleasing to the human palate. We made nature gentler, and because of that, we had to begin protecting it. Vast fields today cannot stand independently as primeval forests once did. They require caring hands, irrigation systems, plant protection products, agricultural science. As natural armor thinned, human responsibility thickened. Within this story lies a profound symbol of the soul. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, modern human beings have undergone similar exchanges. In order to integrate into society, we learn to soften our rougher edges. We adjust our reactions, restrain instinct, choose expressions more readily accepted. We develop the persona, the social mask, to adapt to the community. Yet when we soften those natural bitter compounds, we may also become more vulnerable to external forces. A person who constantly strives to please others may lose the protective layer of personal boundaries. A person who always chooses comfort may trade away the ability to say no. And then, like domesticated crops, we require our own cultivation, science, psychotherapy, self-awareness, inner discipline to maintain balance. No choice is entirely free. Every sweetness carries a responsibility. In modern agriculture, when a cultivated plant loses its natural disease resistance, scientists turn to its wild relatives, species still living in harsh environments, still carrying strong resistance genes. From them, breeders restore resilience. This resembles what Jung called returning to the unconscious. He believed that within the depths of the psyche, in the wild, untamed regions, lies a primal energy. When we over-identify with social roles, we may lose connection with instinct, and when crisis arises, we must return to our inner wild relatives. It may be forgotten creativity. It may be justified anger never acknowledged. It may be a dream once dismissed as too bold. That wild part does not exist to destroy order, but to strengthen it. Today, gene editing technologies allow humans to enhance crop resistance with unprecedented precision. We can add or adjust segments of genetic code to improve defense against pests. Yet pests evolve as well. They adapt, discovering ways to overcome new barriers. The race has no final finish line, and within it lies a humbling lesson in nature. There is no ultimate victory, only continuous adaptation. Jung observed that the human psyche is not static. It moves, transforms, responds to circumstance. If we believe we are finished and no longer need to change, we may be surprised by new challenges. Just as pests evolve, psychological difficulties may also shift form if we cease observing and adjusting. Exchange, therefore, becomes an inevitable part of growth. We cannot preserve every primal instinct while perfectly integrating into society, nor can we eliminate our wild aspects without losing vitality. What matters is awareness of what we are trading. In personal life, perhaps you once chose a stable path over a risky passion. Perhaps you chose safety over intense emotional expression. These choices are not wrong. But if you feel fragile, easily wounded, perhaps it is time to retrieve some resistance genes from your inner wilderness. Not to return to the past, but to rebalance the present. Tonight, as you lie down and allow your mind to settle, reflect on the exchanges you have made. What have you softened to be more loved? What have you hidden to be more accepted? And do those parts need to be invited back, not to dominate, but to strengthen? Human beings cannot create a world completely safe, just as farmers cannot breed a crop permanently immune to all pests. Every solution opens a new challenge. Every advancement calls for further adjustment. This is not pessimism. It is the rhythm of life. No final victory, only continuous adaptation. In Jung's vision, individuation is not reaching an unchanging summit, but maintaining an ongoing dialogue between consciousness and unconsciousness, between the domesticated and the wild. We learn to listen, to adjust, to integrate. Like a farmer tending fields, we tend our inner landscape. We recognize when additional protection is needed, when nature may regulate itself, when ancient genetic strength must be restored. And in the stillness before sleep, perhaps you feel a gentleness. You do not need to be permanently perfect. You do not need to conquer every challenge once and for all. You need only remain willing to adapt. Like crops bending in wind, like pests evolving, like genes edited and re-edited, you are a process unfolding. Let your breath slow. Allow yourself to change when needed. For in this world, in nature, and in the soul, there is no final resting point. Only life continuing to learn how to endure softly, yet persistently through season after season. Influence upon the entire ecosystem. In a quiet forest, may think each leaf is merely a small part, gently trembling in the wind. Yet if we look more deeply, each leaf does not live for itself alone. It breathes, exchanges chemicals, emits signals, and sometimes those invisible molecules can alter an entire food chain. One plant species releases bitter compounds to deter insects. Insect populations decrease. Birds that feed on insects seek alternative food sources. Predators of those birds adjust their behavior. From a chemical response at the level of a single leaf, the entire ecosystem trembles like ripples across a pond. A leaf can adjust a forest. Through Jung's perspective, this becomes a profound psychological symbol. He believed each individual is connected to a vast collective unconscious. Every inner change in one person radiates outward into family, community, relationships both large and small. Just as plant chemicals do not stop at the leaf, our emotions and behaviors do not stop with us. When a plant develops a new toxin, herbivores do not remain still. Over time, they evolve, detoxifying enzymes. A biological dialogue unfolds. Plants strengthen defense. Animals strengthen adaptation. No absolute winner, only reciprocal adjustment. Psychologically, this mirrors human interaction. When we become more withdrawn, loved ones adjust their approach. When we establish clearer boundaries, others shift behavior. Every inner development elicits response from the environment. Jung described such synchronization between individual and collective. We cannot grow without affecting others, and others cannot change without influencing us. Some insects go further. They specialize in feeding on toxic plants, using those toxins as nourishment within a unique ecological niche. What was meant to repel becomes a resource. So too, in human life, some transform pain into art. Some use wounds to help others heal. What was once toxin becomes sustenance when transformed. Jung believed the shadow must be integrated, not eliminated. Facing fear, anger, injury, we may discover untapped energy. Like specialized insects, we learn to live with and from what once threatened us. Some species accumulate plant toxins in their bodies, using them as perfume to attract mates or as armor against predators. What was meant for defense becomes communication and protection. In human life, deep experiences, even painful ones, may become identity. Some carry experience like a subtle fragrance, quiet, unmistakable. Some transform adversity into inner strength, standing steadier in storm. The question is not whether toxins exist, but what we do with them. Plant defense also affects pollination and symbiosis. If chemical compounds are too strong, beneficial insects are repelled as well. Plants must calibrate precisely, strong enough to deter harm, gentle enough to welcome allies. This is the art of balance. Human relationships require similar discernment. Boundaries too rigid may exclude goodwill. Defense too intense may isolate us. Jung emphasized maturity as the ability to distinguish who is predator, who is pollinator. A leaf refines its chemistry. A person refines the heart. Imagine a forest where every plant shifts slightly. One increases toxins. Another lowers defenses to attract pollinators. Insects adjust. Birds adjust. Soil microbes adjust. The ecosystem moves like complex music, each instrument influencing the whole melody. Jung said that when an individual reaches deeper self-awareness, he changes not only himself, but subtly alters the surrounding world. One person managing anger may calm a family atmosphere. One person finding peace may spread it among friends. You may think yourself merely a small leaf in society's vast forest, Yet your chemistry, thoughts, words, actions creates ripples. Tonight, as you lie down and listen to your breath, sense that connection. Each inner decision may alter the food chain of those around you. A gentle word can soften a tense day. A clear boundary can interrupt a harmful cycle. You do not exist alone. Within the collective unconscious Jung described, we share symbols, fears, longings. When one person confronts his shadow, he brightens the shared atmosphere. When one person refuses to repeat old patterns, he alters the psychological ecosystem's current. A leaf can adjust a forest, not through noise, not through visible power, but through invisible molecules of choice. Notice the chemistry you carry daily. Anxiety can activate anxiety in others, but calm can spread likewise. One person's courage may inspire many. In the quiet before sleep, smile gently, knowing you are part of that grand symphony. You need not transform the entire forest at once. Adjust your own leaf. Breath in, breath out. The invisible molecules of your inner life mingle with the common air, and in that mingling, a broader ecosystem quietly adapts. For in the end, no leaf is truly alone, and no change is too small to matter. Every leaf is an ancient battlefield. If we bend down and look closely at a leaf, in the soft light of late afternoon, we may see only delicate veins, quiet green, simple form. But if we look through the lens of time, millions of years long, that leaf is no longer simple. It is an ancient battlefield, not a battlefield of clashing swords, but of evolution, adaptation, silent dialogue between life and challenge. The struggle began when life first moved onto land, when plants learned to endure scorching sun, drought, bacteria, fungi, insects. Every thickened epidermis, every new compound, every thorn was an answer to nature's question, and the question never ends. Through Jung's view, this reflects the human soul. Within each person lies a history deeper than personal memory sediment, of the collective, unconscious, ancient archetypes still moving. We are not merely decades of living, we are continuation of millions of years of adaptation inscribed into biology and psyche. So when you feel a nameless fear, an instinctive reaction that seems irrational, it may not be only your story. It may be echo of an ancient battlefield. There is no permanent victory. Plants strengthen toxins. Insects evolve enzymes. Structures fortify. Environments shift. No final trophy, only continuation. Psychologically, we too seek a final triumph, permanent peace, permanent freedom from anxiety. Yet individuation is rhythm, not endpoint. There are seasons of clarity and strength. There are seasons when shadow rises again. Like leaves never entirely free from erosion, we never fully escape challenge. But movement creates depth. Trees carry rings beneath bark, wide in abundant years, narrow in harsh ones, all recorded silently. Humans carry invisible rings, memories, losses, love, failures. Not every year easy, but each contributes to structure. Jung emphasized integration of shadow, not its erasure. Trees cannot keep only favorable rings. We cannot erase difficult seasons. They support us. Life's rhythm is slow yet persistent. Growth does not occur overnight. Evolution requires generations. Slowness is not stagnation. It is deep movement. In modern life, we rush to solve everything immediately, to understand ourselves quickly, to heal in weeks. Yet profound processes require time. Not every question needs immediate answer. Not every mystery needs complete decoding. Jung spent years studying dreams and symbols, listening rather than imposing meaning. We too need not understand everything within ourselves at once. Life knows how to continue. Even after mass extinctions, life sprouts from cracks. After forests burn, seeds sleep and wait, not because they foresee future, but because continuation is built into structure. You carry that capacity. Perhaps your leaf feels gnawed by anxiety or pressure. Perhaps you stand in an inner battlefield. But that struggle has existed for millions of years within life's structure. You are not anomaly. You are participant in flow, and the flow has never ceased. Tonight, as light fades, you need not decode every defense mechanism of the leaf. You need not solve evolution's full history. You need not answer every question in your heart. Simply rest. Let breath become forest rhythm. Inhale like leaves absorbing light. Exhale like leaves releasing what is no longer needed. Feel supported by history longer than yourself. You need not carry the entire battle of life. Only your part, day by day, season by season. And as sleep arrives, let this gentle thought remain: life always knows how to continue, even when you do not fully understand. Even when you cannot control everything. Life within you moves steadily, quietly. Every leaf is an ancient battlefield, and also a whisper that existence persists softly and enduringly through every breath you take. And now, having journeyed through stories of leaves, thorns, seeds, silent wars across millions of years, perhaps what remains is not knowledge, but a feeling. A feeling that life is not as fragile as we once imagined. It is more enduring, slower, wiser. Leaves once gnawed continue photosynthesis. Trees that endured drought still preserve a final drop of water. Seeds resting in darkness carry blueprints of future, and you do as well. Perhaps you have known seasons of being gnawed by pressure, expectation, careless words that scraped the soul. Perhaps you grew thorns to protect yourself, built shells to prevent further injury. Perhaps you feel tired of constant adaptation. If nature teaches anything, it is this: adaptation is not weakness. It is proof of life. No final victory, no permanent perfection, only rhythm. Rhythm of day and night, growth and rest, defense and openness. No plant shames itself for growing thorns. No leaf feels guilt for tearing. They respond, then continue living. Perhaps the gentlest act tonight is to stop blaming yourself. Stop demanding greater strength. Stop forcing instant understanding. Stop trying to win every inner battle in a single day. You need not comprehend the entire forest to deserve rest. Life continues, even while you sleep. Your heart beats. Your lungs breathe. Cells regenerate. Life within works quietly like chemistry within a leaf. So instead of controlling everything, allow yourself to release a little. Imagine lying beneath an ancient canopy, gentle wind, nothing required of you. Questions may wait for tomorrow. Plans may wait for dawn. Right now, only breath. Inhale slowly. Pause. Exhale fully. Each exhale a falling leaf carrying away unnecessary tension. Each inhale a small seed planted for tomorrow. You need not fight in sleep. You need not stand guard all night. The forest existed long before you and will continue in its intelligence. Your work now is simply to rest deeply enough to continue your own journey tomorrow. If these stories of leaves, thorns, seeds, silent adaptation have brought even a small measure of peace, that is the purpose of the channel. Stories for Sleep was created to offer you a place to return each evening, where knowledge meets gentleness, where science meets depth of soul, where small stories of nature help us understand ourselves a little more and sleep a little better. If you feel accompanied gently, subscribe so you do not miss future journeys. Each subscription is not merely a number, it is water for the seed that allows the channel to grow. And if you wish, leave a small comment, perhaps only a leaf symbol or a simple good night, so we know that somewhere out there a soul is breathing in this shared rhythm. And now, place the phone down. Let the screen grow dark. Let night become a soft blanket over your mind. No need to understand everything. No need to resolve everything. No need to win everything. Just sleep. Wishing you deep, gentle, healing rest. See you in the next story.